Hi there, welcome back to the Hot to Cold Mechanical YouTube channel. I'm Trevor and I'm here with Amin. And Amin is the owner of Hot to Cold Mechanical, and not only is the owner, he's the guy who's going to be doing a lot of the work and servicing and the friendly voice you'll get on the other side when something bad happens, or if you need a new furnace or air conditioner or anything mechanical in your home taken care of. He's the guy you're going to talk to.
Sure can.
So today we're going to be talking about the 10 common questions people have about humidifiers. I think humidifiers are very important. They're kind of underrated, especially we have a really dry climate here in Alberta. Most of the winter it's really, really dry, and in the summer it's just kind of dry, depending on the year.
The amount of heat you use in this country, it's definitely dry.
Oh yeah, your skin gets all scaly and it's uncomfortable. So this is a good topic. Here's a great quote from Alexander the Great. There is nothing impossible for those who will try. I think that's true. At least give it a go. Give it your all. Here's a fun fact for you guys. Rather than requiring a hot water heater, Iceland meets their heating and hot water needs geothermally. Also, they are the world leader in harnessing hot water as a source of renewable energy from their 600 plus hot spring areas. Additionally, Iceland is the only country that can claim to obtain 100% of its electricity and heat from renewable sources. So there you go, folks.
That's amazing.
It can be done, but only in Iceland because they've got geothermal everywhere.
All those hot springs are sure help.
Right?
And that's a lot of humidity.
And they use it to do their power plants and everything there. So that's pretty cool. It's neat. Like we've got tons and tons of oil and natural gas here, so we should be selling and exporting that, but this is not a political conversation, so we'll leave that one alone.
The heck with it for now.
Okay. So I'm going to jump right in with the questions here. Humidifier costs. So let's say somebody wants to call you up and say, hey, Amin, I'm really dry in this house and we need some humidification. How much does that cost?
Well, humidification is not that expensive, really. When it comes right down to it, it's all dependent on the size of the home.
Okay.
And basically the style of the furnace you're using and so forth and so on. But the fact that humidifier is costing, with installation, the average about $500.
Okay.
It's not that bad because of the fact it only takes a couple hours to put one in. And the average cost for a basic is going to be about $200.
Okay.
No, but being that if you take, some humidity can get a little bit fancier, so you can get some humidifiers with even digital controls on them and so forth and so on. You can get the fancier humidifier if you want. But basic humidification, I'd say an average of $500 to maybe $600.
Okay, $500-600, that's not too bad. And I think the benefits outweigh the cost for sure. Now, here's the big thing, reason why you might need a humidifier is, why is there static electricity when I touch things in the house?
Well, that's because of your air being so dry. You see, it's so different than when, if you were to rub your feet on the rug, how you can touch something and get a shock.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's because you're drying that, getting that heat going. And that's exactly what's happening. As soon as the air gets dry in any space, okay, you're going to get that ability to create static electricity.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why you're feeling that.
Oh man, so bad. So bad in the wintertime with the static. Oh, it's awful. Now here's another question. So for some people, if you have a humidifier, here's a question, why is it not working?
Well, a lot of times the humidifier is not going to be working because of the simple fact that you have either your humidistat not picking up properly, and or it has definitely gotten what a lot of people don't realize is that there are filter pads in there that have to be changed.
Okay.
And if they're not changed and the water can't flow anymore, that could be exactly what it is.
I see.
But the worst problem could be the fact that the solenoid valve that turns on and off with that humidistat say go is now dead.
Oh, I see. So you can have a few different problems.
There could be a few different reasons why
Okay.
that humidity would fall on the percentages. Yes.
Okay. So if you are in that scenario and your humidifier doesn't seem to be working, call Amin. He'll come down, he'll diagnose it, check it out, either fix it and or replace it so that you can have humidification back running in your place.
Pretty much.
Fair? Here's another question that people have about humidifiers. Why does the humidifier have this white crusty stuff on it?
Well, that's basic calcium buildup like you may even see on the end of the tap of your kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's the fact that calcium is always going to build up, and that's exactly what those pads are for. The pads are technically catching the calcium, but at the same time spreading it out evenly over that airspace that has been created for it to pick up on the water as it passes by, okay, and takes the humidity up to you. Now, the fact that that pad will start to crust. If you neglect it for too long, you're going to see it coming out of the edges and out of the and pretty much building up around the door and so forth and so on. You know, but that's what a lot of people don't realize, and I don't know why. I've seen it so many times, how people that install new systems never tell their customers, and I always do, but I've seen it too many times, how you have a pad in here to change, just like you have a filter in that furnace.
Yeah, change them. That's a big thing I've seen. And I've seen the old style where it was like a circular tumbler and the thing was just frozen solid.
It would seize up pretty good.
It looked like it was full of barnacles or something. It was just
They were interesting.
Yeah.
That's for
sure. So now here's a question. Now that we know that we have to change them, how often do we have to change those things?
Well, that's all dependent on how much of the humidity is being used. You see, the percentages that you need in that home, and every home is going to be different. You're going to find that the humidity at times is going to be using a lot more water or maybe less. So it's all dependent on how much water passes over that pad. So your best off is in the wintertime to be probably checking it on about a 3 to maybe a tri-weekly to monthly basis, and just opening the door, take a look and see if that calcium buildup is coming around. Some humidifiers will actually have a flashing light on them, and when you get the digital controls, it'll give you a timer on them, pretty much for the amount of time that solenoid valve's been open, knowing it's got to go.
Right.
But if you only got just a basic dial style, then you just have to just open it up and take a look. And if you see the calcium building up on there, then you definitely got to pull it out and just flip it and throw it away.
I see. Okay. Well, there you go. Check it every month or so, and you know, if it's not ready to be done, then you know, wait till the next month and just check it over again. Next question is, what is the proper setting for your humidistat?
The most common humidistat setting for anybody in any home is about 35%. Okay, that 35% is that 35 that you see on that dial or your digital settings, and you'll find that 35% is always the most common, without becoming too humid in the home where you get, you know, your windows start to fog up, and or you start to feel the sweat, you know, and stuff like that. Okay, it's just a simple being that you don't want the air to be too dry, but you don't want it also to be too high on that percentage, because it gets a little effective in other ways that are not so comfortable.
Right, yeah. So you want to kind of balance that out and have a good 35% to make it feel more comfortable.
That is the most common, yes.
Perfect. All right, next question. How does a humidifier actually work?
Well, the humidifier actually takes the air from the return and over to the supply, okay? And it's taken in, on those ducting, on the ducting above the furnace and beside the furnace, okay, which is called your return air, okay? The one above is your supply air. Now, you can place it on either side. It doesn't really matter, as long as it's got the ability to pick up on both rotations, like the fact that the return air can still pass through and or the supply passes back. Okay. Now, it's just a simple fact that you want the air to be able to pass through that pad perfectly to take that water and absorb it perfectly.
I see.
And take it into the air on the supply going up. And I do prefer it on the supply. A lot of people will put it on the return, but then that air has to go down and into your filter first, and coming back up. And only your transfer tube is what's going to let that water through on the supply and up. But you will use more water that way.
I see.
You're better off to put it on the supply side, because you will always find that any water there is taken immediately and gone, and that your balancing pressures are only just given from that return through the filter. They don't really have that water hanging out there as much.
All right. So best thing to do, guys, this is something that you could probably do by yourself, but best to just call a professional to come in, because they know exactly what to do and they'll set it up correctly for you. Okay. Next question is, why is my humidifier leaking water?
Well, a lot of times the leaks are coming from the fact that either, again, that filter pad is just plugged tight, okay, and cannot let the water pass to the point where it's actually plugged your drain.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now the drain hole is right underneath him, and he's letting all that excess water out that he doesn't have evaporating and going into your house. So the fact that when that pad itself is no longer capable of, how would you say, allowing that water to get absorbed and just letting it pass right by, it's going to start to take that calcium with it. And it's going to plug your drain most likely.
I see.
And that is usually the most common reason.
I see. So then you get some bigger problems. So it's really important to change those pads out, especially here. We have very, very hard water. I'm not sure where you are in the world and wherever you're watching this, but where we are, we have very, very hard water. Lots of minerals and things in the water.
Definitely. And it's The only other thing I could say that may cause a problem, but that's only going to be obvious to the eye, is if the water line coming to the solenoid valve that sends the water in is leaking right in front of your eyeballs. That's different. That's but the fact that when it's coming out of weird places and spaces, that's usually what it is.
Okay, good to know. All right, guys. Next question we have for Amin is, why is the humidifier running water all the time?
Well, that's when a lot of times you'll find that either the humidistat is no longer reading properly and leaving your solenoid valve on all the time. But a lot of times solenoid valves get old and they'll seize up. And they'll actually take to the point where they actually get stuck open and allowing the water to come constantly.
I see.
But that's the most common reasons.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. So if that is something that you're noticing with your humidifier, give Amin a call. He'll come out and he'll assess the damage and see if he can either replace the solenoid or replace the unit entirely, and you know, give you the right answer for that problem. The next thing here is, why is my humidifier working but the humidity feels like it's low in the house?
Well, a lot of times the fact being that the percentage level, like we said, the humidistat sometimes does not always pick up perfectly. If that humidistat is not picking up perfectly, and that you're set at that 35%, but you're finding it's still kind of like a lot of static in the house, and never, you know, especially when you touch electrical switches, okay, you'll notice it the most.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that if that percentage is not holding up properly, and you've already turned it up and you don't see any change, I would probably blame the humidistat if you know that there's water running.
Right.
If you can see the water is running, a lot of times it's just pretty much that humidistat not perfectly keeping that flow on the paste that's proper.
I see. So you might need a new humidistat.
Most likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know. Okay, guys, we're coming down to the end of these questions here. Approximately how much water does a humidifier use? Like, should I be concerned about it? Is it going to make my water bill go crazy?
Well, most are just rated exactly that way. They're rated by the gallon per day, okay, on what they would consider an average run for a furnace in a day, okay? And these are definite, being that the gallons per day are exactly how you buy the size of that system.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and the size of the system is always dependent on the size of your home, as you will need more definite being of humidity in a larger home as well.
Okay, so basically the settings on, or the specifications on the humidifier will tell you how many gallons per day you can expect for it to use.
Yes.
Now, what would be an average? Like,
average is probably about 15.
15, okay.
Yeah, that's the fact that average is always around 15, because if that 35% in any average home, it's probably going to be doing about that 15 gallon per day. That's probably the most common size you see, and in use as to an average being as what you would be using.
Okay, so 15 gallons per day, not too bad. That's not too shabby. That won't, you know, break the bank, and most of it's going into the air anyway, so that's good. Now, the last question that we've got for you is, what brand of humidifier do you recommend to your clients? Well,
Honeywell's always been a great name. Aprilaire is always the up name. Okay, Aprilaire is actually because they only do really humidity. That's all they ever know, and that's been their number one focus.
Okay.
And focal point for Aprilaire is humidity, and they have really definitely perfected it. I'll admit to that. But Honeywell, well, that's such a big name that's been out there for decades, and they know their things too. They got some very great products as well to use.
Yeah.
Those would be the two first names I'd always offered. Obviously the Honeywell, and or if you want to upgrade to even up to the Aprilaire, then you've got it.
Okay, there you have it, folks. Sure. So thank you for sharing this information about humidifiers. There's a lot more information that's going to be coming on this channel, so please stay tuned. Thanks so much, Amin. Appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next video.
Thank you very much.